Hi ladies, welcome to another great training today via video. It's so awesome to have this technology, and I hope you feel like you are sitting right here with Stacey and I. Today I'm going to interview this incredible senior sales director, Stacey Badura. She is brilliant in how she works with her customers and builds relationships, and we all know that one of our goals in building a Mary Kay business is to build that business for life, and that of course involves developing relationships with customers that are going to last and stand the test of time. You know, I was actually listening to a Success Magazine clip recently, and they talked about the fact that trust is the most important component of any relationship. And so Stacey, I know that that was something that you thought of way back before they taped that CD for that magazine.
I know.
Tell us about a thought you have about how to build relationship with your customers.
Well, absolutely. And it's funny because I was looking through some notes, and the first time this idea came to me was when I was a team leader. So, I mean, that was a very long time ago. And so I think about how consultants, when you have those sparks and those little pieces of inspiration, that is something to follow up with. But here was my thought when I was making the analogy, and it had to do with customer service and building relationships with our customers that often become team members and so on. But it was based on the whole idea of courtship and of courting, and how actually there are things that we can learn as women from the way that men behave in relationship and the way they initiate and so forth. So it was just kind of a fun little thing that I came up with, and then we trained on it ages ago, and we still continue to refine it. So just some thoughts on that. I mean, I think I don't know, I could just jump into it, or we could just kind of...
I would love it.
Okay,
specific
some
ideas.
of my main points, one of them was obviously to put your best self forward. You know, we talk about this all the time in Mary Kay. We talk about our image. You can't talk enough about it. And it's kind of like if you were trying, we think about someone trying to impress someone on a date or making that initial contact with someone, you would absolutely put your best self forward. And I think some of the things that we do also as we get better as consultants, we get better at smiling, we get better at eye contact, we get better at making connections initially, and that's really important. So whenever we talk about image, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. So that's kind of a no-brainer. What I thought was fun, too, is this idea of working with intention. You've taught me so much about that. But with working with intention with regard to this, here's an example. If a guy was going to spend a bunch of money on a date with a woman, and he's going to, get his car waxed and, looking good and making this great first impression like we talked about, he's not going to go in with the attitude of, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, oh well, we'll just see. He's going to go in with, no, I'm going to win her over, That's working with intention. That is having the idea behind, I'm going to talk to this woman about Mary Kay because I want to book her. I'm going to spend time with her. I'm going to talk to this person about the opportunity because I would love to work with her. And it just changes everything. It's a shift, but it changes everything. And I think that's something that we could really learn from, from that piece of the other types of relationships. And then the other thing that I just love to talk about is those little things that make a difference. Mary Kay was such a master at the thank you note and the follow-up, and even today, what it's like to send text message thanking someone for their time, taking that time to write that personal note. I remember dropping by a little goodie bag to someone's office, just to say thanks so much, I can't wait for the party. Those kinds of things really go a long way, and that's just something that we know to do. So those are some of my top tips, I think.
I love those, Stacey. I think about you and your strength areas, and I know that you are gifted with the strength of woo. And woo is defined by Gallup, and Don Clifton in his Strengths Finders is the ability to woo people and kind of have people in the palm of your hand. But what you're saying, as we really work on courting our customers and developing relationships, is that there are just some very specific systems or intentional actions that any one of us can take in helping that to happen. And so I think about you talking about, the intention of how you position yourself and putting your best self forward and choosing, what you're going to wear to an appointment, that would be attire that would make women feel comfortable, that would show that you're a professional and that you took the time because they mean enough to you to dress up and to be in your Mary Kay image. That sets a great first impression. Of course, we've all heard, that old saying that you often only get one chance to make a great first impression.
Right.
So I love when you talk about that. I love when you talk about the attitude, the mindset of abundance, that if I'm going to prepare in advance for this appointment, I'm going to get this set up, I'm going to be ready to be in front of those women and put my best self forward, that this is going to go great and they're going to receive me and it's going to be an absolutely wonderful appointment, and that you're making those decisions, those intentional decisions because of what you're expecting, and that's to get great results. I love all of those things. Let me ask you, because as you know, carrying on Mary Kay's principles and the torch that she's given all of us to carry forth is so important to me as we develop our national area. You closed with some thoughts about thank yous and gratitude, and making sure that we don't overlook doing those things. What would be just a couple of easy systems that even the busiest of consultants who feel like they're running, nonstop from this to that to the next thing could implement or have in place so that that thank you does not get overlooked? What would be a couple of little things you might suggest?
No, that's great, because you're right. And then the more we build, the bigger that group gets. So I used to love just keeping thank you notes in my car. And I would have 2 spots for thank you notes. Thank you notes in a little card file in my car, so when I had some moments, just write them out. Always having stamps on hand. We always talked about having little postcards made, or just cutting up your own card stock and kind of embellishing them. But if you got it all stamped and ready to go, you could literally drive by the mailbox on your way home from an appointment and do that. Golly, what else? Oh, having a little bit of a chart. There's all kinds of layering charts we can create. I always did my own charts, which were just literally a piece of paper and boom, 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 little check marks. But, reminding yourself, did I do that 2-day follow-up? Did I do that phone call? Did I then, follow it up with the 2-week follow-up? And then what's happening in between there? Those kinds of things. And we just have to be having a little system in place to do that.
Stacey brings up a great point, and that is Mary Kay's suggestion. When Mary Kay Ash was actually live in the business and even still working with her clients and developing the sales force, she talked about this 2 plus 2 plus 2 concept. And for many of you who are watching today, you're probably fairly new consultants. Let's unpack that and share with our gals what that really involves and what Mary Kay meant behind that level of consistency in contact with customers.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I love it too that Mary Kay taught us, not just to have a pattern of when we initiate contact, but to forecast that, meaning to let your customer know what to expect. And you have a conversation about that at your first appointment. And so the idea behind it is that after someone purchases product, you give them a 2-day time frame to try that product. Now, this is perfect for foundation because you want to be able to see your colors in different lighting, different times of day. It's perfect for anyone who may have an issue with their skin and the product because, within 2 days, But so you kind of let them know, here's what I do. I call everyone 2 days after they've bought any product from me to make sure you're loving it. Then we'll go on a 2-week plan. I'll call you in 2 weeks. We're going to have a conversation about that, see where you're at, see how that's working for you. And then we'll continue to stay in touch every 2 months. And I love every 2 months instead of every 3 months because, we have our PCP mailing every quarter. But if you kind of hold yourself to the 2-month, you're a little bit ahead of the game. You don't get to PCP and go, oh my goodness, I have all these people to call. It just helps you stay, and it's very professional, don't you think? When we forecast it, the 2-week call is the best because that's when you can set up, if you haven't already, another appointment. There's always another reason to get together. And so, we talk about that, find out what direction they may want to go in, if it's a party, if it's just a second color appointment, whatever it is.
So what you're saying is you're going to touch base and already do touch base with each of our customers 2 days after you've met with them. You're kind of checkpointing that they understand how to use their product, that everything is working effectively. You're also showing that I am really here to meet your needs, that if something isn't working perfectly, let's get that exchanged right away. And so you're really backing what you shared in your introduction of your party or your facial appointment, the kind of service you would provide. You're really showing that by doing that within 2 days. Then you're saying at your the 2-week mark that you're utilizing that more as a quick touch base, but actually more so as a new booking opportunity which I love that.
Yes.
And then third, that conversation that happens within that second and third month. Stacey, let's talk a little bit more about that. I know that many of you as consultants get so excited about calling your customers as it connects with preferred customer, and you know that they're sitting with that brand new fresh lookbook in their hands, which of course has the samples because you've enrolled them on PCP, so they get the special lookbook. But whether that conversation is happening a little bit beforehand, like you're suggesting, or right at that time, I know that many of you wonder, where do I take that conversation? What do I say when I call? Do I just say, is there stuff you want to buy? Or how do you more effectively finesse that conversation and really have some great communication? So maybe you could share with us a couple phrases that you use in your communication when you're making that phone call.
Well, I think women love to give their own feedback. I do. I just think they love that. And so if they feel like they are giving me information about what they perceive to be in our brochures and letting me know how they're doing, I feel like they're more likely to call me back. I don't feel like there's not necessarily an expectation that they buy anything. However, once we have a conversation, then we get a chance to talk about the new products. So I take it from an educational standpoint and from I would love to see what you think of the new lookbook. I would love to get your opinion. You know, we've got these two new things, and give me some time frames when you might call me back and we can just visit about that. Then, or, you know, you can also checkpoint, what if they didn't get the lookbook? Sometimes that happens. You know, people fill out their profile cards, maybe we get an address wrong. So you're making sure that you're still doing a good customer service. And, you know, it's so much about confidence, don't you think? I mean, I was thinking about how even when we're forming relationships socially, you want to be around the confident people. You know, you don't want to be around the wishy-washy people because it just is uncomfortable. And so the more you have a little system like that, the more you become confident. I think you can be approachable, but then you're not desperate. Do you know what I mean? Like, can anyone can sense the whole desperation thing? And certainly you're not going to be a stalker, right? Because we don't want that in a relationship with courting at all. So you have to figure out how to do this. But sometimes if you have a system, then you're not second-guessing yourself. You're not thinking, oh my gosh, should I call or shouldn't I? You just say, oh no, I have a system. And my system is, this is how I follow up. And then it takes the uncertainty out of it. I think that's the best part of those systems. I don't think what you say is as much important as just the intention behind it.
Yes, I would agree with that, gals. And so as you really work on your scripting and just your general communication, remember what Stacey just said, in that it's not so much the exact wording that you choose or that you use, but more importantly, your heart and your intention and your preparation. And so let me make a mention here about preparation. I recently heard a success specialist talk about the one road to success is prepare, prepare, prepare. And so I would guess, knowing how on top of her game Stacey is, that as she sits down with that list of clients that she's going to be calling to make those diligent phone calls, that she's not only got a list of names and phone numbers, but I would guess that she has already taken a moment to think about, okay, Susie, what is Susie currently using? And I know Stacey's got a huge customer base, so I know she doesn't just rely on memory. I know that as a part of her preparation, she goes into her My Business account in InTouch, and she looks up that customer information, and she remembers, oh yes, Susie is a Miracle Set customer who also chose to work with the the microdermabrasion, let's say. So what would be another great suggestion that I make for her? Obviously, seeing she's someone who loves skincare, but what could we do to improve her lineup, take her to that next step? And so I would guess, I know how Stacey works in her diligence, that she might write some notes next to that person's name, like perhaps I would now recommend our firming eye cream. Maybe I'll recommend our vitamin C serum. Maybe it would be a good idea for her to look at the new TimeWise Recovery and Restore system. And so when she gets on that call, and she catches her live, that she's going to know some things that she's going to be able to suggest and recommend. Now, we all know in today's world, we don't always catch them live, do we? No, and so if Stacey's prepared and she knows what it is that she wants to suggest, when you catch that voicemail, it can be more than just a general voicemail of, oh, just wanted to check in. But she can specifically say, you know, I was thinking about you, Susie, and we've got some products in our lineup that I just think would really be a great complement to your skincare line. I'm not sure if you're looking at adding anything into your product lineup at this time, but I've got a couple great ideas. And let me just leave these for you, and let's discuss when you've got a couple minutes. So when you go into that conversation, I know that you have some ideas of what you're suggesting or what you personally want to be visiting with that person about. I'll make a little mention here, guys, that on that note, the number one thing that communicates is that you're important to me. And Mary Kay Ash, in all of her teachings to us in building relationships, she always said, pretend like everybody has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important.
Yeah.
So if I'm calling Susie and I just have a blanket script and nothing is personal about her, then it's going to come off a little bit impersonal. But if I'm calling Susie and saying, you know what, I was thinking about you specifically, and I know these are the things that you use, this would be what I would suggest is our next product. What that communicates is she's valuable enough that you took the time to think about her and what would be the next best thing for her to be using. And you know, more than anything, what people remember is how you've made them feel.
Absolutely.
So Stace, would you say in this concept of courting our customers and winning people to us, you know, John Maxwell always talks about that when you're in business and when you're in sales and when you're in leadership, that your role is to win people to you in a comfortable way. Would you say that the process of courting is at its basic root all about developing trust in a relationship?
I think so. I think so. And I think that some people are more skeptical than others. It's interesting. You can sense that sometimes, you know, and whether it's prior experiences they've had with cosmetics or life, you know, and I think just the consistency of knowing that we're going to be here for them. Knowing that I will often say, hey, I'm in this business for life. I'm going to be here as long as you'll have me. You know, those kinds of statements mean a lot to people because they know that you're not just in it for a quick buck. They know that you're in it for them. I think also taking that time to know, not like you have to know a ton of personal information about every single person on your customer list. I understand that's challenging. But to think a little bit about who am I about to call? I'm about to call a mom who I know, oh my goodness, it's late August. She's probably getting her kids ready for school. What, you know, might I mention that? How can I be sensitive to that? Or it's interesting because, you know, when you have customers for several years, when you know that they're going to kind of start aging, they do start changing what they want to order. And not that you're going to mention that, but you can even say, oh my gosh, you know, last time we were talking, you were only interested in this, but I'm just wondering, are you ready to step it up? I mean, those kinds of things mean something to people because they can trust that you have their genuine best interest in mind, that it's not just about you. So I love that. I think that's very relationship building 101.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Gals, as we begin to wrap this session, I would just mention to you that knowing that our desire is, of course, to catch people live, it just doesn't always happen. And so you want to get some great systems in place for texting and for email. And, of course, on our customer profile cards, our clients will note what is their preferred method of communication. But to get some systems in place, you know, one of the great things about texting is you can have a general text that is ready to go that has your general basic little communication that you're going to send out to her, and you can just insert, you know, a little, by the way, was thinking about a couple of additional products, and then mention those things, and then shoot that off, and you can have that already prepared, and then simply be able to forward that to different people. Same thing with an email. You can have master copies created. I mention that just because we have full understanding of how much women are juggling today while working this business, and we want to help you have great systems in place that you can keep going back to over and over and over again. Well, I think the last thing that we would share is we have the privilege of following an incredible founder who knew the concept of making everybody feel important. And so just remember, as you're courting your customers and your team members, that's the single most important thing, is that everybody feels special and valuable in your space. Have a great day, and Stace, thanks for sharing those ideas.
So glad I
appreciate you.
You bet.